Okay. Now the microphone should be on as well.
Now, can we hear? I mean, we should work.
I mean, it's a little delayed, obviously, but
Okay.
we should in fact be live.
Oh wow, it's very, very delayed.
It is, yeah. So I have like a 5 second window
Yeah.
to fix everything. Okay, great. Now we just have to wait for. See, there you go. There you went. It's a.
Hello.
It's a nice.
You know me.
It's a nice little Easter egg. I
Yes.
can like look down and be surprised at seeing you. It's nice. There you are. It's like a solid minute or something. Okay, great.
I hope the comments are not super delayed.
Comments, they will be a minute behind. But that's typical, I'm afraid. I see a viewer. That wouldn't happen to be
That's me.
you. Oh my god.
I guess we can wait for people to.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we wait. We got time.
It's just I don't hear. Okay, no, I'm here. Okay, I'm here.
Am I not loud enough? I mean,
I have to like boom my. You're like.
I can boost it even more.
Yeah, a bit more.
Okay. There we go. Now I've boosted it. If anyone listening to me feels
That's
that the
me.
internet
Right now.
is not the internet, sorry. If the microphone is too loud or whatnot, do let me know. But also, we are at Copenhagen Gaming Week, so you will hear a lot of background noise,
Hell yeah.
regardless. Yeah, you can't see yourself. Well,
It's fine.
now you can.
If they see me, that's what it's
That is the important thing, yeah. I like. You know what this feels like? It feels like we're doing like a sports commentator. It does.
Especially.
I'm like, oh, look at the players here again. They can't hear you. It's kind of good. Should do that more often.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi.
Nordic Game Jam.
Nordic Game Jam, super. Yeah.
We already have a thing going on with you guys.
Yes, with
Yes.
Kada, yeah.
Yeah, like 40 tickets or something. Yes.
Yes, yeah. Especially, I think we have only from my class this year. Like 7 people are going. Which
Yes.
is nice. Yeah.
Simon, by the way.
Francesca, nice to meet you.
Francesca, hi.
Hello,
Hi.
Simon.
Simon, nice to meet you guys.
Yeah.
Finally. Usually it's like Toby that like does all of the
right.
outreach and everything.
Right. Yeah.
I think it is Toby that's communicating with you guys. Yes. He's around. He's the person for outreach. But yeah, how's it going?
Good.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much. I'm unfortunately not joining the like Nordic Game Jam. I'm sorry.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
The first 2 days are open to the public, so you don't need a ticket.
Yeah. Are you at the Oslo?
All right.
Oslo University of Copenhagen, yes. In Solheim.
Yeah.
And
Hello, hello.
super excited.
Looks like there's 2 of you now. Just giving people some time to tune in.
600 attendees. Yeah. Last
Just so
year
you
we had
know,
150 and
I will be repeating myself quite a lot here in the beginning.
waitlist.
We are currently sitting at
Just waiting.
Copenhagen Gaming Week, which is why you can hear a lot of background chatter.
It runs on its own because Nordic
Do let me know if it's absolutely terrible, and I will mute and unmute the microphone from time to time. But sadly, there's nothing I can do about the actual background noise.
So it was. I came in as just the Discord mod because one of my friends was part of the organizer group, and I've slowly taken on like more responsibilities, and now I'm the lead organizer.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Yeah.
So
yeah.
you know, Discord mod to lead organizer pipeline.
Wow. So you make everything work, like all the
Yeah.
talks and stuff like that.
I mean, what I do is I coordinate all the organizers with all the organizers because it's. Thankfully, we are like 15 people,
Yeah.
which helps.
Hello, hello, hello.
Just back then.
Welcome,
they used to be,
welcome.
like 6 people. They would run ragged.
Again,
Now it's
I
16
will
people.
just be repeating myself a little bit here while waiting for people to show up.
Each other, we can make
My name is Simon. I'm the special guest for this 3D Bootcamp.
making
And we are currently sitting at Copenhagen Gaming Week, which is why you can hear a lot of background noise, presumably at least. So do let me know if it is absolutely dreadful. There's not much I can do about it, but I can mute and unmute the microphone on and off if it's dreadful. But yeah, do let me know. And once we actually get going here, I will be introducing you to the wonderful world of Unreal Engine and giving you like a brief introduction onto how to use the program in case you also want to do game-related content, want to make your own games, or maybe you want to make movies or whatnot. I will be showing you the way that Unreal Engine works so you don't get afraid when starting up for the first time.
I mean, we're just sitting down. My classmate.
Jaime from Nordic Bootcamp.
Okay, just giving people 4 or 5 more minutes just to make sure that people don't miss the very beginning, of course.
But yeah, would you like talk to one of you guys in person?
Yes, yeah. Have you never been?
Usually it's so for school outreach, for the school outreach program, it is usually who's one of the older officers who does all of the email stuff, and I think he's doing a lot of the workshops at Frida, and he takes care of that.
Oh my God, that's right. I saw just like redheaded.
Hello, hello. Welcome.
Red-headed
Welcome, welcome.
paint splatter sweater. Yes.
I have been repeating myself a lot, and I will continue to do so while we're waiting for people to just tune in here. Hello, my name is Simon, and I am the special guest streamer for today. We're currently sitting at Copenhagen Gaming Week, and this is why you can probably hear a lot of noise in the background. Do let me know if it's absolutely dreadful. There's not much I can do about it. I can mute and unmute my microphone to dim it if it's like really loud occasionally. But yeah, do let me know, and we will get going here in 2 minutes time, just waiting for people to get an option or the opportunity to tune in. And then we're going to look at the wonderful world of Unreal Engine, because again, keeping to the theme of the gaming week, in case you want to start making games of your own, you can of course use Unreal Engine to do exactly that. So I will be giving you a very brief introduction to how to get started using the program, so that it's not as daunting when you have to actually sit and do your own projects. But yeah, we have like a minute left. Not a whole heck of a lot of time left, so I think,
It's so much easier if you can like write a thing.
again, I'm just surrounded by impressions of people here. Don't mind me looking around. But I think we will slowly start.
Thank you.
All right.
I keep getting told that it's very small.
Like I've said, and this is the last time I repeat myself, I promise. My name is Simon. I am today's very special bootcamp host, and we are streaming live from Copenhagen Gaming Week. And I'd like to say a big thank you to Copenhagen Gaming Week and Games Denmark for letting us stream here today.
Yes, nice meeting you.
And yeah, I will slowly but surely start to introduce you to the wonderful, wonderful world of Unreal Engine. Because, again, the whole theme of this week here is games. And in case you want to make games of your own, Unreal Engine is a fantastic place to start. So I figured I might as well give you a little bit of an introduction to the thing, so that you feel comfortable once you actually have to sit down and do your own projects. So, first things first, welcome to the program. Uh, you can find the program many ways, of course. It is part of what is called Epic Games. They have a launcher called the Epic Games Launcher, funnily enough. And once you have that, you can install Unreal Engine. I can hopefully, without too much problems, show you what that looks like right here. Give me a second.
Fun.
There we go. So this is what the Epic Games Launcher looks like once you open it for the first time. And you can see up here, or into the side over here, you have a menu. And the one we're interested in right now is called Unreal Engine. And up here in the top, we click on Library. And here you can see we have what is called an engine version, because Unreal Engine is what we call a game engine. And this is where you can actually put together all of the different assets that you have made yourself, or maybe you've found them externally and want to use them in a project. But you can click on this lovely yellow button right here, and you can choose what version of Unreal Engine you want to actually use. I have not gone for the newest one, because usually that still needs a little testing to be, you know, safe and all that. So we are going with 5.6.1. And again, I apologize if you hear any noise in the background. There is a very big presentation going on the side over here. So I will try to talk loud enough to actually be able to talk over it. But do let me know what you feel like the audio levels are, and I will try to adjust it. But anyway, now that we have the engine version going, you can launch this and you can make your project. As you can see, I have 3 of them down here. And this here is just me making a very basic blank level that I wanted to use for today. So here we are. This is what you will be greeted with, presumably at least. And let's just start by getting comfortable in what we see on screen right now. This very big window that you can see move around in the center is what we call a viewport. This is where you will be doing all of your work inside of Unreal Engine. And you can see there's a few icons and everything appearing. We will talk about those in a little bit. In the right side over here, you have a details panel. You can just see it over my webcam. And above that, you have the outliner. Now, the outliner has all of the things in the scene in a list, if that makes sense. So you can see, for instance, we have this sun with an arrow to it. If I click on this, it highlights over here what that is. This is a directional light in this case. So if I press on something else, for instance, like the skylight, it will highlight over here. Very nice and easy. And in the details below, if I just make this a little bigger, so you can hopefully see, in the details below, it will show you the details of whatever you have highlighted in the scene or in your outliner over here. So let's try and use the directional light, because that gives a very good and easy indication of change. We have down here, for instance, we have the location, the rotation, and the scale. This is just to show you where it is in the world. It doesn't really matter for this particular one where it is. What matters the most about this is the rotation. So if I, for instance, want to change the rotation, I can either click on one of these fields down here, and I can type in manually the numbers if I know exactly what I want. Or, as you can see, my mouse cursor changes when I hold over the field. This means that I can click and hold my left mouse button and then drag from side to side, and you can see the numbers going up and down. Now, this particular one doesn't change a lot, because this is not the axis that's important for the sunlight. But if we do something like this, for instance, you can see the arrow on the icon changing up and down. And as it gets lower to the horizon, we actually get what looks like a sunrise. And now, if I do this one over here, for instance, it rotates it around on the orbital axis. So now, if I do this, we now have a sun right ahead of us. And as you can see now, this one down here makes it up and down. This one is from side to side, and this one rotates it around itself, which is not often very useful, but it is an option. So, now that we have this big wow factor out of the way, as you can see, it dynamically changes everything on the fly, which is very nice. We can start looking at what's happening on the actual screen over here, and how to move around, first of all. If you've ever played an FPS, or first-person shooter game, you should feel right at home. You simply hold down your right mouse button, and then you can move the mouse around to look in whatever direction you want. And then on your keyboard, you have the W, A, S, and D keys. That's typical for games and such. If you press W and hold it down, you will fly toward what you're looking at. So you can see if I now move my mouse, I change the direction where I fly. And if I want to do the opposite, I press the S key. Now I fly away from whatever I'm looking at. Handy dandy. I can also press A to go to the left, and I can press D to go to the right. So it's a mix of all these keys will be your bread and butter in getting around. Now you might find situations where you are too high off the ground and want to be lower. In that case you can use the Q to go down, and you can use E to go up. So you have this little cluster of 6 keys over here. That's going to be how you navigate. There are other ways. If you don't like this way at all, you can hold down your left mouse button, for instance, anywhere in the world, and then move around. I don't particularly find this useful because you have to use a lot of movement to get anywhere, but it is an option if you feel like the other way is too weird or too different from what you're used to. Alternatively, you can also get these 3 like small 3D mice, they're called. Basically a little joystick that you can use to move back and forth more smoothly if you want to. They can be a little pricey, of course, but if you want to do this a lot, they can definitely be a huge help. Now, you may have noticed, again, I'm assuming that you are fairly new to 3D and that you are fairly new to Unreal Engine as well. So do bear in mind that I will be talking about things on a very basic level, so to speak. Let me know if I am talking too fast or talking about things that you already know everything about. I will try my best to adjust, of course. But in here you will see on everything that I highlight, they have these 3 arrows that are color-coded. And what they simply do is they show what way they are facing in the world. Down here in the bottom left, you can see the same 3 colors. Oh yeah, and I should highlight once again, you can probably hear a lot of noise in the background, for those who are new here. We are currently streaming at Copenhagen Gaming Week, which is why there's a lot of background noise and why you can see a lot of people in the background. So, my apologies for any noise. I will try to talk over it, but yeah, let me know if there's anything that you want me to try and adjust. I will do my best. So down here on the left, you can see the same 3 colors, the green, the blue, and the red, but this time they have letters instead of arrowheads. This is because this is the axes that we have in the world, the X, Y, and Z axis. So if I go like this, for instance, you can see that Z, or Z, goes directly up, which is the same for this model over here. And the way to use these is very simple. You click and hold your mouse on them, and you can see the mouse changes to a fist, a closed fist. And now you can simply drag it around in the world. And you can do this for every individual axis. You can also change them on 2 axes at once. For that, you will have to click on the little connection square between the 2 axes. So if I want to, instead of just moving it from side to side, I can click on this, and I can now move it wherever I want on this plane, if that makes any sense. Okay, so you may have noticed that this is a little choppy, the way that it moves. We can change that up here in the top. We have these 3 lovely buttons. This one for here, this here, for instance, is corresponding to movement. This is rotation, and this is scale. You can also change what function you have over here. This is movement, this is rotation, and this is scale. Again, if you hold your mouse over these, you can see the keyboard shortcut for them, which are, let me see here, whoop. You have E, you have R, and you have, excuse me, W, E, R, and, am I dumb? W, E, and R, of course. I don't know why I thought it would be 4. That makes no sense. W, E, and R are the ones to use. And like you saw with the movement, if I try to rotate this now, it does it in degrees of 10. You can see in the little bottom down here. So 10, 20, 30, etc., etc. If you don't want it to be this choppy, you can click off these options right here. I mean, again, this is only for rotation. So now it'll be smooth, and you can use this to very, very fine-tune where you want things to be. But you can also use this in another sense, like if you know, for instance, that you want to move something 100 centimeters, which is what these numbers mean. They are centimeters. You can click on this thing, and now when you move this, it'll move 1 meter or 100 centimeters. This can be very useful if you want to, make a lot of pillars in a landscape or buy a building or something, and you want them to have the precise amount of distance between them, for instance. Okay, so now we have a little bit of movement, and we know how to move things around. But we would also like to add even more things, because just these 3 or 4 elements won't really make a good game, or an interesting game for that matter. I should probably also mention the thing that I've highlighted right now. You can see it over here in the outliner. Is called the player start. This is, well, the name kind of gives it away. If you make a game, and wherever this is where your player will start. I believe if I do this now, I do in fact start here in the middle, looking where we are. I mean, again, there isn't a character to move right now, so the movement isn't much different than before. And we won't go into adding characters and all of that in this video. This will be more of a general knowledge and demystifying Unreal Engine to make it more accessible to when you want to make your own projects and whatnot. Again, I will be repeating myself a little bit. Apologies for that, but for those who tune in, do let me know if I'm going too quick, or if I'm glossing over things, or if I'm simply talking about things that you already know to death. I will do my best to adjust and show something else. But for now, let's try and get some new things into the scene, something to play with. And for that, we go up here in the top to this little white box with a green plus next to it. It's called the Quick Add to the project. If we click on this, we get a drop-down menu. Here are all of the what's known as the basics in Unreal Engine, the things that come with the project. So we do have some very basic stuff that we can work with. If we go into shapes, for instance, we have a cube, which is every 3D artist's favorite thing, a cube, because we can use it for so many things. And now, as you can see, I should have shown that probably. You can just click on it if you want, and it's added somewhere to the world. Let me just delete that. Or, alternatively, you can click and hold on it and drag it somewhere and then release. And it'll be where you release it instead. You might notice that it's like sunken halfway into the ground. This is because, oh, I'm sorry, I'm still on the stepped keys. If I move it down to the ground here, you will notice that the arrows, what we call the pivot point or the gizmo, things have a lot of names in 3D, is in the center of the cube, which is why this is considered the bottom of it when you want to place it that way. Another thing you can do is you can, on your keyboard, let me see if I can find it on this laptop. I don't even know if it has this button.
Very weird name.
Where would that be? Doesn't matter, I guess. That's funny. I've never really thought of doing it on a laptop, but on the laptop, on the keyboard,
That's what
you will have the key called end. Oh, it's there. I found it. I have to use this apparently. There you go. You saw it change down. So now if I do this, you can see the horizon underneath it. If I do this, it goes down until it collides with something, not necessarily the ground. If I do this, for instance, you can see it would hit this cube now. Let's move it up and see where it hits. We do this, bam. It does indeed hit the top of the cube. This is very useful if you want to place things on a table, for instance. You want to place the plates, the glasses, the cutlery, whatever you may have. This is a very quick and easy way to make sure that it hits something, it hits the top of the surface. It's well, it's useful if you can find the buttons, of course, which I struggled with, but that's again because I'm on a laptop, a very tiny laptop. So, how do we then, where do we go from here? Well, one thing we could do is we could start to place cubes individually from this menu, but that's a little tedious, so just having to do this all the time. There is a shortcut to make copies of things you already have, which is to hold down the Alt key on your keyboard, and then drag from any of these lines. So this one, for instance, you can see I now have a duplicate of this cube, and I can do that over and over and over again if I want to. And you will notice that over here in the outliner, we now have cube, well, 1, I guess, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And if I click on them again, I will highlight it in the world. Very useful. You can also see that there's this little icon over here. You can click on this to hide something temporarily. Be noted, though, that it isn't like hidden forever if you render out a movie. For instance, it will unhide itself. This is more on a project basis. If you sit and work and you want more clear visuals or a less cluttered screen, you can use these to hide the things. You can also press the hotkey on the keyboard called H. H for hide. Very useful. You can also, if you have these icons, for instance, and you don't really want them to clutter your screen, maybe they're in the way of a pretty shot and you want to see what it looks like without them, you can press the letter G on your keyboard, which is to activate game mode. I'm not entirely sure why they chose that naming, but you can press this to toggle on and off these icons. This also affects these arrows. So as you can see here, no arrows and arrows. So if you ever find yourself in a situation where you can't see these arrows and you want to move stuff, make sure to press G a couple times just to make sure that it's not that's the issue. Okay, well, we have a lot of other stuff available here. We have different shapes in case you want those. Probably don't have to explain all of them, and I mean, you can probably fool around with them on your own accord. But for instance, we can do this, have a cone, and we can move it up and use the new, press the end key to move it down on top of this. I should note though that the reason that it can collide with this cube is because it has what's called collision. Most of the, if not all, of the default things in Unreal Engine already have collision built into them. So everything that's in the project by default should work perfectly fine. But if you make your own things or you download them online and import them into the project, you may need to add collision to them in order for it to work properly. But that will be a topic for another video, I'm sure. So now you can, of course, move it around, we've seen. You can rotate it around, we've seen. You can also scale it. Probably goes without saying, but you can scale it in multiple axes as well. If you just want the one, you use the one. And if you want two, you take the little connecting beam in between two other axes, and you can do on two axes at once. Very nice. Okay, so now I want to talk about where you actually store all of your items or assets to use in your project, because currently we only have this menu over here, the outliner, and the menu down here, the details. We are missing one very key component that is by default, I believe, hidden, like it is with me right now, and it is the one down here on the left called the content drawer. If I click on it, you will see a pop-up appear, which is the content drawer, would you believe. The thing is, when you click on it, it shows up, but if you interact with anything other than itself, it goes away again, which is, to some, very annoying. To me, it is useful, because there is also, would you believe, a keyboard shortcut for this, which is Control and Spacebar. You can make it go up and down. Very handy. So if, for instance, I want to have the full screen here to look at, I can just use this temporarily, go in and do whatever I need to, and then go out of it again. Or, if you really don't like the fact that it disappears, you can go over here and dock it in the layout, and now you can see it is here permanently. It'll be there, and you can size it up and down and to your liking. You can go to this menu over here if you want to change it from being a grid to being a list, for instance. Again, I'm not going to go over every option. I'm just using the ones that I've seen people mention before, that I really wish that you can view things like this, because that would make it more pleasing to my brain or whatever. So just know that there are options, and I'm also just giving you the names of all of these things, because then you can look them up on your own accord. Like content browser now, you can see it's called content drawer down here, because the drawer is the one that goes up and down, and the browser is the one that's stationary in the viewport. Confusing, I'm sure. But now we have this wonderful menu, and I'm not going to rely too much on the internet here. Again, just to reiterate, we are sitting at Copenhagen Gaming Week with Games Denmark, and there's a lot of people around me, so I do apologize if there's a lot of background noise. I'm sure there is. There's not a lot I can do about that currently. Luckily, the stream, or the presentation on the left, just stopped, so we should have a little breathing room where there's not too much noise at the very least. But yeah, I'm not relying too much on the stability of the internet here. There are a lot of people currently sitting around me and doing what I do as well. So I have downloaded a few things just to make sure. But let me introduce you to Unreal Engine's marketplace. If you want to start adding things that aren't these generic little shapes, and you want, and you also don't feel like modeling things yourself, for instance. There is actually a dedicated button right here now called Fab, and let's see what it will allow me to do. It sometimes needs a few tries. Oh, we're lucky this time. Let me put it into full screen. Okay, here we go. So this here is a huge online library of assets, and you can see probably a huge difference in price. Like, for instance, this one is free, this one is 12 crowns, and this one over here is 1,200 crowns. So it can be very daunting to look at all of these things and figure out what you want, or what you need, or what you can afford. So luckily there are options. If we go, oh, it's down here now. Down here there is a line of options, and the one that most people are looking for is the one called price, because now you can use the checkbox only show free products. Here we go, and now it jumps to the top for some reason, which is why it confused me before. But as you can see, there is actually a lot of things that are free. I'm not going to download anything other than what I have right now, because again, the stability of the internet is a little questionable here, since there's a lot of people connecting at the same time. But just know that there is a plethora of things to suit whatever you might need. But also be aware that you get what you pay for the most part. Free stuff isn't necessarily the best stuff, but it's useful if you want to just get an idea or, start blocking out a scene or a vivid memory or dream or just an idea you have for a scene or a game or whatever. You can use all these assets. Like, for instance, here there's forest, terrain, if you just want a little bit of, dirty undergrowth, I guess you would call it, to be in the scene. But yeah, enough about that. I've downloaded one thing, and I will show you where to do that if we go into this one again. For some of these assets, you can choose between the quality that you want. Like, for instance, if it's something that's going to be very small or in the background, you don't ever see it up close, just go for the low quality one. Doesn't really matter. But if it's what we call a hero prop, or if it's, a main character or something, if it's a sword that the main character is holding, that would be a hero prop. You would want to have it in a higher quality because we will see it up close. But yeah, other than that, when you've chosen which one you want, you can simply click here on Add to Project, and this will make a folder in the content browser. You can see, sorry. In your content browser down here, you will now have a folder called Fab, which is the name of the content browser. Hi, Simon. I'm being... Yeah. I'm live streaming. I'm teaching people Unreal.
Is this nobody's commenting?
Not yet.
Not yet. Wow.
Maybe I'm not. Maybe I've been muted this whole time. Who knows? Would have been fun, right? Sorry? Thank you. Thank you very much. It's slightly multitasking, but we get there.
No.
Apologies for that. You will get this folder right here called Fab, and if you go into it, you will see a long list of folders in case you've downloaded multiple things. I happen to have downloaded this here. Again, I'm just going into it because it is just going into folders, but you will get to a point where it is split into the content that you want, depending on what you downloaded, of course. In Unreal Engine, we call these things static meshes because they are without any skeletons in them. They are just a mesh. If you put a skeleton inside them, they would be a skeletal mesh. Makes sense, right? So in here in the content browser, you can see that we have a folder called static meshes, we have materials, and we have textures. Do let me know if I should elaborate on anything, and if I'm glossing over stuff, I will be happy to go over it all in more detail. But starting from the lowest thing, I guess, the one that I'm sure you probably know, here we have the textures, which is one thing, a texture map that you can double click on if you want to look at it. We have the material, which is what we make in Unreal Engine to put onto stuff. So this, for instance, I could put it on this cube and it will get that material. It doesn't fit it because the UV map is completely different, but it does technically work. But now let's go to the one that we actually care about the most, the static mesh. I've downloaded a pine tree, wouldn't you know? So if I just click this thing and I drag it here, it is now in the world. And okay, this is actually a very good example. I didn't even expect this, but you might expect it to be right here in front of you, but it is not. It is over here, and it is massive. This is because all these assets that you find in the content browser, in Fab, is made by people like you and me. And people, of course, make assets in many different ways. So, and they also use their different programs. So this here, for instance, I have seen enough times to be pretty sure that this is made in Blender, because the scale is very different between Unreal Engine and Blender. So if we, for instance, try to move this closer to us, you'll see this will take a long time. because again, the pivot point is also not connected to the, well, not at the bottom of the mesh. So now we have a hassle of wanting to place this on here. We would have to zoom all the way out, and we can now do this and make sure that it's placed on it like this. There we go. Now we have a massive, massive tree on our grid right here. But now, if I wanted to scale this down, you could either, again, use the menus over on the right in the details. You can click and drag to scale things on an individual axis, as you can see me doing right here. But you can also lock the scale as the only one. And now you can scale it uniformly, meaning that it scales the same on all 3 axes. Can you talk Danish? I can, for sure. I don't know if there are more people here who are Danish than English. I will switch to Danish for a little bit, and if enough English people are here to be confused by me, do let me know and I will switch back.
I'm always ready.
Jamen hej. For lige at starte helt forfra i så fald. Ikke helt forfra, men lidt forfra. Goddag. Mit navn er Simon. Vi sidder her til Copenhagen Gaming Week, så det er derfor, der er en masse støj i baggrunden, som du sikkert kan høre. Eller som I sikkert kan høre. Og jeg sidder her nu og prøver lige at give en meget hurtig lille introduktion til programmet Unreal Engine, i tilfælde af, at I selv sidder og har lyst til og vil lave jeres egne spil eller filmprojekter, så synes jeg i hvert fald personligt, at Unreal Engine er et fantastisk sted at starte. Så jeg har vist en masse af de primære ting til ligesom at bevæge dig frem og tilbage i projektet og programmet, og hvordan du tilføjer de simple kasser og bokse og den slags. Og nu er vi simpelthen nået hertil, hvor vi har fundet et lille juletræ, går jeg ud fra, vi kan kalde det, på Fab, på Unreal Engines Marketplace. Og nu er vi simpelthen nået til det punkt, hvor jeg vil prøve at fikse, at den her, dens pivot point, sidder fuldstændig forkert i forhold til, hvad vi forventer. Og når jeg siger forventer, så vil jeg gerne have, at den sidder i bunden af vores skønne juletræ, så den er nemmere at flytte på, og nemmere at skalere, og den bliver på sin plads frem for det her, hvor den flyver frem og tilbage, når man prøver på at give den scale. Hej. Der er en person, der har spurgt, om jeg kan snakke dansk. Så nu prøver jeg... No Danish. Really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's in English.
All right. Well, that answers that in that case. You got a little 5 minutes of brief introductions.
Yeah, because it's most internationals.
Okay, fine. Well, I'm good I have someone who knows more than I do. Apologies for that. But, I mean, I'll be sure to be concise and brief. So hopefully it's not too confusing regardless. All right. So we have the case of a wonderful pine tree and a pivot point that is messed up, as it were. And there are some very simple ways to actually fix this in Unreal Engine. I'm not saying this is something you have to do all the time, or even most of the time, but I'm going to show you it as an option now that it presented itself as something to fix. So up here in the top left, we have different modes that you can be in inside Unreal. The one we're looking for is this one, the modeling mode. If I click on it, it'll take a little while. And now we have a list of tools over here. And you can see the one down here that actually looks like the pivot point you have on the asset. If you click on this, you can now go and you can edit the pivot point. If I do that, you get the options down here. So you can say, for instance, I want it at the center of the thing, and I want it at the bottom of the thing. And now I click accept, and voila. Now we have it exactly where we want it to be. Luckily, again, this particular model is also symmetrical, which makes it a lot easier. If you have something that's very wide and not very wide and very narrow, I guess you could say. At that point, of course, it will still be at the center, and the center might not be where you want it to, but you can also, if I go to edit again, you can also do it, edit it manually, if you so want to. If you even want it at the top, you can do that, for instance. But I like it at the center, and then at the bottom, for the majority of things that I work with, at least. And now you can see, if I go over here, let's see if this actually works. Press end. It does. It has collision to it, which is very nice. Now let's scale this down, because currently it is massive. You might not know this, of course, because to you it might not be massive, but the cubes that we spawn in, we have the menu up here with the shapes and this general cube right here. You have, this cube you have right here is 1 by 1 by 1 meter. So this tree is a little on the big side. So I usually like to do make a cube in the general shape and size of myself, just to have an idea of scale. So I am 1 meter and 75 centimeters tall, which is why I write it like this, as you can see. And just, you know, to get some general, like, slender-ish shape. Not saying I'm slender by any means, but we just do this to get, you know, a more, a better idea of height, so to speak. So now we have this tree right here, and we just simply want to scale it down, scale it down, scale it down. And now we are onto something that looks more right. And you can see over on the right that this tree is now 0.03 its original size, which again makes me believe that this is actually something that came from the program Blender, because the sizes between the two programs are very big. But how can we use this now that it's this massive? Is actually also by happenstance a very good example, because let me show you something that is very useful. If I now go back to the content drawer, you can use, again, you can either click here to navigate if you want. You can also click up here to navigate if you want. But let me right click here and show you one of the very useful things that we have here in Unreal, in case you want to make many of the same things. So if I right click and I go up here, I can make what is called a blueprint. And bear with me, it'll take a little setting up, but it will be worth it. If I click on it, it'll give us options for what kind of blueprint we want to make, and we want to make the top one. For the most part, you always need the top one. Depending, of course, if you make a character, use a character, obviously. But for the vast majority of what I'm using, at least, I usually do actor. And here we then get to give it a name. We can call it blueprint underscore tree. Let's call it tree number, whoopsie daisy, tree number 1. Why not? Because naming is important. And then we can click on save all, because, you know, force of habit on my end, I guess. And here, now we have this, and if I drag this into the world, you will see this little weird icon, like a round circle with presumably a little fall drop shadow on it. But it doesn't actually have anything in it. So let me delete this, just to give it a showcase later on. And instead, let me double click on it to open up the actual blueprint. Let me see if it opens on this screen or the other screen. If it will open at all. It chose halfway between two screens. Okay, that's not very useful. Let's do this. Okay, I will do full screen. Okay, now we have a new set of complicated and confusing menus. I promise you, you don't really need more than 5% of what you see here. I'm just simply showing it to you so that you are aware of what it is in case you ever want to mess around with it. But over here on the left, you have a list of components. Right now, it has none. But we can add something to it. We can add a static mesh, for instance, which is what our tree is. We can call this one tree. And then over on the right, wouldn't you know it, there is an option to add a static mesh to this option over here, because right now it is blank. So we click here, and then we can search for, I believe it was called tree, low poly pine tree. Here we go. And again, it is back to being massive, but here is where it actually becomes useful. So if we go back to our scene, let me do this actually, just to make it easier on myself. We go back to our scene. We've already made this tree the size that we like. So what we can do then is down here by scale, we can right click on this empty space next to all of it, and we can simply press copy. There's also a shortcut here if you are the type of person who likes shortcuts. But we can press copy. Now we go in here to the blueprint, make sure that it is locked so that all of them are the same. Now we paste it. And now you can see we have the same size tree right here. And you might ask why that's useful. That is useful because this is changing the size of the tree, not the size of the blueprint. So now if we go back here and we drag this into the world, you can see that the tree is actually a manageable size. And over here on the right, the scale is 1, because again, this is the scale of the blueprint, which is kind of like thinking the blueprint is kind of like a box that contains a lot of things within it. So this here is the general shape and size of the blueprint itself. So if I now want this to scale up and down, it's much easier to do than if I were to do it with this one, as you can see, because this is the numbers are just much weirder. I prefer to have it between 0 and 1, or you know, if I want to, I can also make it twice as big if that's what I want, and just press 2. So that is a useful feature. I use this a lot for things, also because these blueprints, using this, you can actually set up a system where you optimize your game even more. Because when you're making games, the name of the game, so to speak, is to optimize things. So that make sure that you don't have to load unnecessarily an unnecessary amount of things to actually make the game run smoother. Because we all like games that run smoother. Like preferably, you know, 60 or 100 FPS, something like that. But all of that is for a future video, I'm sure. It's too much to include in this short one right here, at least. Okay, so how do we use this a bit more? Well, let me show you a little step process. What I'm gonna explain to you what I'm gonna do, and then I'm gonna do it, just so you know what to be prepared for. Now we have this little scene and setup here, but what if you want to start your own? I will show you how to make a new level, it's called. This you have right here, as you can see, is called a level. In gaming terms, this probably makes a lot of sense if you are a gamer, that you go between different levels. So you can have a level inside a building, you can have a level inside a garage, you can have a level inside a haunted mansion, you know, that sort of thing. It can also be very useful in movie productions, because you can think of them as movie sets. So you can have one set, again, in a haunted mansion, and you can have one outside the haunted mansion, or stuff like that. Anyway, I'll explain it more once we actually see it a bit more hands-on. And in this level, I will show you how to add a landscape that you can mold and make look nice the way that you want them to. I will also show you how to paint with these trees so that you can get a nice little foresty thing just as a starting point. And of course, I also want to add the sky, because it will in fact be pitch black once we open up the scene. And after that is done, we'll see if there is more time, but I will then look into materials in case you are interested in that at all. So first things first, let me make a new level. We will right click in our content browser, which is what we do whenever we want to make anything in Unreal. And we go up to the top to this little cluster up here, which is the most used ones. And we can click on level. And again, naming is important. We will call it L for level, underscore. We can call it forest. Seems to make sense. And now we simply double click on this and press save for everything, and we will be plunged into darkness, as you can probably see. There is absolutely nothing. If you look on the right side over here in the outliner, there is nothing to be seen in the scene whatsoever. So, I mean, in order to be able to see anything, let's just add the lights first. And there is a very handy shortcut that took me way too long to realize was there, and it's made my life a lot easier afterwards. It's up here. If you click on Window, you can go down to what's called the Environmental Light Mixer. If you click on that, you get an option. You might not have it down here. You might have it floating like this. It might even be a different shape or whatnot, but it will be there somewhere. And it has a lot of buttons. And the very useful thing about this is if you just go to the top one and press that, you will see it's replaced with another button. And you just press that button, and that, and that, and that. And now you have no more buttons, you have a sky. Isn't that lovely? And you can see we have the blue of the sky, the fade of the other blue, and we have clouds, and we have a sun up there as well. And they've all been added over here to the outliner. Nice and simple. I love that thing. I use it all the time. Now, if we want to be organized, for instance, we could say that light and sky light are two light sources, for instance. And now that I've highlighted those, there is the option to click on this folder to put them into a folder. So we can call it lights, for instance. Now we can collapse it to make it more organized and easy to see out here. But this also makes it so that you can toggle the visibility of many things at one time. So now you can turn off the lights, for instance. And these things right here, I will just call atmosphere. Just, again, trying to give you all the good habits that took me an embarrassing amount of time to get right. Making folders, making organized projects, very important. It will save you a lot of headaches in the long run. Anyway, enough about me being a stickler. Let's actually do some landscaping. Now, we've already seen this, and in case you haven't been here for the entire length of the stream, I will of course reiterate some things. Up in the top left, you have what's called selection mode. Here you can choose what type of tools you want to use in Unreal. I didn't know about this feature. It's very interesting to watch. Oh, well, I'm glad you think so. There is a lot of hidden gems in Unreal that actually makes it a lot easier to work with, and it actually makes it bearable to do big projects, because you can easily pump out these things once you have the right tools for the task. I mean, speaking of tools, up here, if I click on this little drop-down thing, we can go to what's called landscape. And wouldn't you know it, this enables us to make a landscape. You can see right now there's this green grid. I'm not going to go into too much detail. Again, you can fine-tune things. You can look things up on your own time if you want to. But the very simplest way of using this is, like you saw me do, I went into landscape mode, and now I simply just press create. And I wait, because again, I'm sitting on a laptop, and it's not the fastest thing in the world, but you know, we get there. And again, I've said it before, and I'm saying it again in case people haven't been here for the entire stream. If I'm talking too fast or too slow, do let me know, and I will repeat stuff, or I'll talk faster, depending on what you want, of course. So now you can see we have this checkerboard grid in front of us, and if I try to fly away, like far, far away, you can see it is not infinite. It is like a specific size, but it is big, like very big. Again, for size comparison, let's go back to select mode, and I will add a basic cube right here. I will make it me-sized, so it is 1.75 tall, for instance. Do this, and wow, I was very zoomy. Oh yeah, I didn't mention that actually. If you ever find yourself moving too quickly, like you see me doing now, I can't really get this centered. While you are holding your right mouse button and moving around, you can scroll the mouse wheel. If you scroll it toward yourself, you actually reduce the speed at which you move in runtime. Again, is one of those things that makes it super handy, because alternatively, you might notice up here in the top, it says 0.7. This is the number that changes when I want to switch between the speed of the camera. Alternatively, you could click here and you could do this and say, I want to move like super fast, like this. And then you would, but it's just tedious, and you wouldn't actually know. Like, I don't know how fast 9 is. I just feel how fast I want to go, and I change the pace until I am at the speed that I like to be at, for instance. So that's another one that's very super useful. So here, again, I'm just reiterating, if we now want this to be exactly on the floor, we can press the end key, and it'll snap down until it collides with something, in this case, the landscape. So you can see, this, if this is me standing here on this landscape, it is absolutely huge, which is great. And you get this like very easily, 2 buttons and you have this landscape. But it's not very interesting right now. So let's go back to landscape, and you can see there is this shadow now following my cursor, which is because we have a tool activated on the left here, which is sculpt. Now you might be familiar with sculpting, I don't know. Again, do let me know if I need to explain anything in more detail. But basically, what this makes you do is think about your landscape now as a giant slab of clay. And now I can just click and drag, and I am making a landscape. If I want to make Mount Doom or something over here, I can just make a very, 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 very tall spire or something. Like this. It's not very pretty, but then again, I'm not the best artist. Also, I'm a little strapped for time, so I'm sure you understand. But as you can see, you can very quickly make something interesting. And you can just like some random noise like this, and you will quickly have something that breaks the horizon in the background of your cinematics or something. So imagine, for instance, let's find me again. If I'm down here, this looks great all of a sudden, and I didn't really do much. I just wiggled the mouse around a little bit, and now you have a mountain range. But let's say that you added too much and you want to take away. You can hold down Shift on your keyboard, and you can do the opposite. You can push down instead, and you can make valleys or oceans or whatever you want, really. And it's as simple as that to just make a great little landscape. And you can see we have a lot of depth already. Very nice. There is a ton of tools, by the way, up here. Again, I'm not going to go over all of them, because again, there's too many, and I will probably bore you to death if I had to describe all of them. Well, let me show you a few fun ones that might be a little weird to understand. Like, for instance, there is the ramp, which is a fun one. I can click here. Whoops, daisy, I even did it wrong. Click ramp, reset. I click here, and I click and hold, and then I put up here, and now I can say add ramp, and it does that. Now I have a perfect ramp that goes up here. The sides are a little wonky, but that's fine. I can go back to sculpting, and if I feel like this brush is too big now, for instance, there is also an option to remove, or not remove, but reduce the size of your brush over here. You can also make it softer if you feel like it's acting too aggressively. So now you can see it's very gentle. And we can start to add more details like this. So now we have what looks like a landscape at least. And this again did not take very long at all. I think it literally took me about 6 minutes or something. And if you just put your heart into it, you can make a lot of cool stuff. Just the last one that I want to show. You have these two right here, erosion and hydro. These are presumably, I'm not sure I can explain exactly how they work, but what I think of them as is a way to make things look worn down. So if I use it here, for instance, again, I'm on a laptop, so it might not be the most easy process for it. You can see something changes at the very least. And what this actually does is it imitates, you know, rainfall over thousands of years, like how this would sculpt the landscape and such. It's very nice. Okay, so now we have a landscape. How do we add things to this landscape? Just how do we add stuff easily at least? Well, we have another option for that. If we go to what's called foliage instead, we get a new set of options. And you can see down at the bottom here, it says plus drag foliage here. Now this is a little deceiving. You can absolutely use assets that are called foliage assets, or actors I suppose, down here, but you can also use any static mesh. I mean, this is going to be huge, like we've established, but if I use this, for instance, drag it into here, you can see I now have this pine tree right here. And I can choose to use it or not use it. I will use it for now, because otherwise it's a little pointless. And now this is active, like it's selected for me, and I'm just going to say, okay, this is going to be this is going to be interesting, because the trees are big, and we'll see if it actually like does something absolutely terrible. But if I now click here, I have spawned in 1,000,000 trees. I've made a porcupine basically, which is a little bit too much, I will admit. So I'll Control Z that, and I will set the density way down, and we'll try again. It is better, but still it is massive. It's also not useful that the tree is that big. But if I'm not mistaken, you can click on, like you see, I can click on the checkbox. This does one thing, but if I click on the actual tree, you get options down here. And what you can do is you can go down to scale, and you can say, I want this to be 0.01 or 2, something like that. If I could, I don't know, free? Apparently it doesn't want to allow me to do that. I'm not sure why. I can do, okay, I'll just do that then. Do it manually. Whatever. Unreal. Be that way. 0.02? Now it wants to, okay. Maybe it's because Francesca distracted that it gets confused. So now let's see if I do this. Hey, would you look at that? We now have the weirdest forest in the world, because every tree is pointing in every which way. They are following the normals of the landscape. But as you can see, as a as a very quick little demonstration, you can make a forest quite easily. I do believe if we go down here and it says align to normal, if we check this off, we go back out here and do it again, it will in fact just point straight up like a normal tree would. But again, you don't have to use this for trees. You can use it for most things. Like if you want to make a scene on a coffee table with a bunch of coffee beans lying there, you can use this for the coffee beans. Why not? And you can see just in the drag of a mouse, I've made about 1,000 trees that are here now, making this nice little forest. And if you feel like you've made too many, or you just want to change the amount in any way, you can hold down Shift and click, and you can eat them and delete them. And you can shape to this. You can shape and size it to whatever you want it to be. For instance, very handy and very easy. And you can also, like right now, all the trees are the same size. I do also believe, like we were here, at scale, right now they are, as you see, the same. But you can also set it to free, and then it has a min and a max, for instance. So if I now want it to be this or twice that size, for instance, okay, I'll just copy and paste that because I'm too lazy. Oh, that worked actually. That was brilliant. Now if I go over here and I paint, you can see there's a bunch of different sizes of trees. Or at the very least they should be very different sizes of trees. Oh, it's because the minimum and the maximum over here are the same. Do that. Do that. My apologies. Let's try again. Bam. There we go. Look at this little squat one over here. There we go. So we can make a little variation. So now it looks, already a bit more interesting. And it's very easy, and you just have these tools right at your fingertips all of a sudden, and you can make a grand landscape. Like if you want to make a cinematic where you have a cool background with trees and mountains and whatnot, you just drag this mouse a couple times, and you go over here to landscape, and you can see here, if I do this now, oh, it's very, very much not strong. Oh, it's also the wrong tool. That makes sense. If I do this, they actually conform. They follow. So you can actually just make a pretty little landscape. And you can delete stuff, and you can make I want there to be like a ravine or a river here to go this way. Now there's trees at the bottom of the ravine. Doesn't make a lot of sense. But then we could go back to foliage and say I want to highlight these things. Minimize this. Hold down shift, and we can say I don't want trees down here, for instance. It doesn't make sense. So now you see, you have a landscape already. And if you're down here and far away, it looks great. No need to fiddle around with a lot of finite details when a little bit of detail done correctly can add all the work to you. So, okay, I do have some other things that I can and will talk about, but I just wanted to take a quick minute to check in with the ones watching. If there's anything specifically that you want me to either talk about again, go into more details of, or if there's a specific part of Unreal that you are afraid of or know of but don't understand or whatnot, now would be a good time to do that. I will go over materials now. And if what you suggest is much more interesting than materials, I will do a pivot to that instead, because materials is useful, but it's also a little tedious, especially if that's not something you're interested in at all, then it's really tedious. Now you've been warned, but let me try and give a texture, or a material rather, to this cube right here. I'm going to go back to selection mode. So we have the default Unreal experience. Because right now, as you can see, it is just the default white. If I click on it, don't know if you can see that because of my webcam. I'll have to wait a minute for it to actually catch up. I think you should be able to. There is this section called Materials. And here we have Element 0, which is this basic white, basic shape material it's called. Yeah, you can see it. Okay, great. Now this one is the basic thing that comes with Unreal. You should never change that because it will mess up your entire project and everything will be weird and wacky. So what you want to do is you want to make your own. And again, if you want to go back to the start of the content browser, you can either click on content here or you can click on content here. It does the same thing. So we right click again in our content browser and we have the option that's called material. Here we see I want to call it M for material. Now let's call this test because I don't know what it's going to be yet. And if I just click on this, you can see the box of the box's box over here in element glows blue because this thing that I have selected fits in right over here. So I can simply release it there and it gets the new material. You can also do it another way that I find more fun, but it can be difficult if the thing has many materials, which is just to click on it and release it on the thing. For how long I might be streaming? I mean, I think I would be good for streaming another hour, perhaps, depending. But it looks as if... I mean, I honestly don't know. There's not been a plan for it, but we will see. It also depends on breaks and people's attention and all of that. But maybe half an hour or something-ish. We don't know. It looks like, yeah, probably. Let's assume that for now, unless I hear anything else. Okay, let's go to materials. Here we have a cube that now has a bunch of these squares. And of course you can see that the squares here are, well, square. And here they are oblong, so to speak, rectangular. This is of course because of the UVs of this box, so they will be stretched if I do it this way. But let's try and make a material that doesn't care about UVs. So let's double click on the one that we just made, and we will open up a new confusing window. There we go. Love new confusing windows. So trying to keep this as simple as I possibly can. The thing you see here is basically what's doing all the math for you. You just feed things into these little holes, like through these spaghetti things, and it'll do all the calculations for you, basically. And you can see most of the names, hopefully, just make sense on their own. Like a base color is the color, metallic is metallic, and these two I will have to elaborate on a little bit probably. And a emissive color is color that glows, of course. And this one, you don't really bother with it, to be fair. I mean, it's useful for some occasions, but I very rarely use it for anything. And as for these two, roughness is an indicator of how rough the surface of your object is. Like, for instance, if you think of a worn down rubber tire, for instance, if you look at that from the side when a light is hitting it, you don't see a lot of, reflections of anything in it. It's just the dark rubber. But if you look at a mirror, for instance, you see a lot of reflections. You can even see yourself. So if I set this to be 0, you can see it change over here live. Now it is very reflective, meaning it is not rough. It actually even says, I didn't notice that, if you hold the mouse over, rough of 0 is smooth, is like a mirror, and rough of 1 is a matte or diffuse. That's very nice. I didn't know they added these. That's nice. So now let me just try to pull this to the side so we can see it live. Because if I now press apply to this one, you can see that this box right here changes. And now it is still white, but you can see it is much more reflective. We can actually see some things reflecting in it. And if I now want to change the color of it, for instance, you can simply click on this box and drag this thing around. So if you want to make it blue, for instance, dark blue, we can say OK. And in order for it to change over here, we have to press apply. And now we wait. There we go. Now we have a very reflective blue cube. Again, this is, it can be very simple. You can also make it very complex very quickly if you are the type of person who finds this fascinating. Sadly, I am one of those people, so I have to try and stop myself from going nuts on materials. But I just find it so fascinating and satisfying to see the surfaces change. One thing that I will show, though, is you can add other things to these holes, because right now you see I've just added, or rather used, the values that are here to begin with, but you can use these, like I've mentioned, to add stuff to it. It doesn't have to be very complex, but it can be, like I've said. So if you hold down the number 1 on your keyboard and you click anywhere, left click anywhere, you get this little green box. If you press 2 and you click, you get a yellow box. If you hold 3 and click, you get another yellow box, but bigger. Don't know why they didn't color coordinate all of it. It's a little annoying. But you can see that in the top it has a 0, this is 0.0, and this is 0, 0, 0. I don't want to go too technical about it because it's not necessary to go technical about it. But what it basically is do you want to have, well, this is a vector. The technical term of this is a vector. This is a 3 vector, a 2 vector, and I guess you could probably call it a 1 vector, but it's called a constant, this one right here. So if I want to make a color, that is a combination of 3 things. As you can see down here, we have 3 things. So if I, for instance, say I want this to be 1, and I want this to be 0, and I want this to be 1, for instance, this gives me this color. But that's not very intuitive, so what I do is I click, well, double click on the color right here, and we get the same menu that we had before. So now I can say I want it to be orange, for instance, and I say OK. And now we have a box here that is an orange color. And how do we use that to anything? Well, it has all of these weird stuff out here, and you can see this is actually the X, the Y, and the Z are coordinated into red and green and blue. So if I just take the red one, for instance, and I put this into the base color, you would assume that this would now be red, but it is not. That's because, give me a second while this loads. There we go. What this actually means is, you can see X here, which is the red one, has the value of 1. And it goes from 0 to 1, 1 being white and 0 being black. So if I do 0 and 0 and 0, like this for instance, we have a completely black color. And if I press apply to this, it will be black. Again, laptop. It takes a little bit. There we go. So we don't want to just use this, because this only uses the value from one of them. We want to use the one above it, this one, that uses the value of all 3 of them. So we can drag this. I might have done that too quickly. In case I did, I'm sorry. You just left click on this little hole, or whatever, and you can drag out this little noodle, this little worm thing, and you can hold it to the base color and release. And now, if I double click on this, I can choose a color like orange or yellow apparently. Wait a second, there we go, and I can now press apply, and we get a colored box, hopefully. Yeah, there we go. So as you can see, this does exactly the same as we did over here. But the reason why we want to do this is we can chain these things together to make more complex structures. I'm not going to bore you with them, but just know that this is an option. And one thing that I struggled with a lot when I started out doing this was the name of things. Because if you don't know what the name of something is, how are you going to look it up on Google or ChatGPT or Gemini or whatnot? So just be aware, this right here, you can hold 1 on your keyboard and left click. You get that in your viewport here, and it's called a constant. And this here is a 2 vector, and this is a 3 vector. These are the ones you'll be using the most. I even think this one is primarily the one you'll be using, because this is just one value that is from 0 to 1. As you can see, this has 3 values that are 0 to 1. Technical and mathematical, but it's the way that these things work, sadly. But let's just delete these to make it more simple. And the way we can change this now is just for funsies. Let's just say, actually, let me get this back. Why not? Let's make it orange again, because I can use this in the emissive color, for instance. And now, this will be a decent showcase of how to chain things together. I said I didn't want to bore you with it, but this is a fairly simple one. Let me just press apply to get a baseline here. Waiting. There we go. And actually, let me just turn down the sun. You can click on. Again, I'm doing it a little quickly. I'm sorry. Up here in the outliner, we have the directional light, which is our sun. And you can see in the top of our details, you have intensity. If I set that to 0, there's no sunlight. And now we just have this cube that's glowing, which is very nice. And if I open up the material thing for us again, I can now show you how to make a very basic little chain of things to alter the effect somewhat. So from this, you've seen me drag this to the destination, but if you just let it go somewhere, in the middle, you get this little search bar. And here, for instance, I'm going to show you an example of how to change the intensity of the glow, for instance. So if I search for multiply, we can use this one and we get a little green box called multiply. I'm sorry if you can hear a dude in the background. It's okay, he's done. I'm sorry if there's people talking over me. Probably very confusing, I'm sure. What I was gonna say is, you can simply, if we drag a noodle out of this thing and release it somewhere that's not connected to anything, we get a little box that we can type into. So if I type in multiply, we get a box that's called multiply. It's very simple, but this is, and I'm sorry for this does require some math. And I'm not a math person, but I do like this, like as a logic puzzle, which is very fun. If I now take this result of these two things and put it into here, you can see it replaces that connection. Press apply, nothing happens, because this color is multiplied by 1. And, oh, the dude is talking again. Give me a second. Oh wow, okay. I have been informed.
That's what you're saying.
That is what they're saying, yeah.
Right?
I have been informed that apparently we are to close down in a minute or two. Don't know why they didn't mention that earlier.
Yeah.
But no one has like poked us and said that they want us to leave. So
No, so it's take another 10-15 minutes.
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
like, wrap up.
So we're gonna wrap up very slowly, but this will be the last thing, unless you have some questions that's burning a hole in your pocket. I was gonna say, that's not the phrase, but anyway, let me just wrap this up and answer any questions that you might have. But as I was saying, this color is multiplied by 1, and if you multiply anything by 1, you get what you started with. So 2 times 1 is 2, for instance. But if we now say I want to multiply this by 10, for instance, and I press apply, you can see over here, in a little bit, the yellow should be brighter, because now we actually multiplied this value 10 times. The guy on the loudspeaker isn't letting me oh man, I don't know why. I mean, they are out to get me for some reason. Loudspeaker guy, I'm gonna find him, have a word with him. But yeah, okay, let me not get too into a lot of new things, so that I have to cut it like short in the middle of explaining anything. But yeah, is there any questions? And if not, I'll just give you like, because again the internet is, or the stream is like delayed by a minute or so. So I'll just give you like 5 or 10 to pitch in with anything, and if there isn't, we will just slowly start wrapping up over here. Sorry, the loudspeaker man won't let us trim properly. I'm not sure what you referred to there, actually, now that I see it out loud. Or say it out loud. But yeah, stupid loudspeaker man. But yeah, we've also been streaming for 1.5 hours, actually.
Solid.
Solid. And I think I need some water or something. Just because I've just been yapping for
Yep.
non-stop for, for 1.5 hours. You just don't get me started on Unreal Engine, apparently. Or do, if you want to hear, like, if you want to fall asleep. But yeah, 2 minutes have passed. I see no further questions. So, not to like spoil any parties or anything, but I think we will just end it right here and now. In that case, the sounds so final. But I mean, the loudspeaker man has spoken. So
Yes.
sorry to end it like this, but it is what it is. And thank you very much for tuning in. It was a pleasure to show it to you. I hope it wasn't too information heavy. And if it is, find me and I will explain it to you in person, I guess.
Fine.
Anyway, thank you very much. This is us signing out from Gaming Week and Games Denmark.
Aww.
Thank you very much. I usually like see people fall asleep when I try to talk about materials, so I'm glad. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. But yeah, signing off for now in that case. Have a lovely weekend. And hopefully, maybe, we will be back another
Yes.
time. Here's fingers crossed. Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.